Hello, hello, hello out there. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 2 of season 1 of 3 Archers podcast, where your exclusively melanated archers are here to talk topics all during Sagittarius season. If you don't have Sagittarius squad, get you one. So today's topic, we are talking about modern marriage. Marriage. So I feel like we can't really talk about marriage until we talk about relationships, about forming that bond and finding a mate, right? So, Stephanie, most ladies and gentlemen too, even though dudes too, even though they don't really talk about it, we have a list, right?
Yup.
We have a list. So, if it's not too much, what's on your list?
You know, over the years, my list has changed.
Right, as it should.
My list has evolved to like, I like my list now. Okay, so look, you have to share the same religious beliefs as I do. You have to, if you have children, you have to be present in your children's lives. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I don't want to hear no sob stories. If you're in it, you got to get in it, and that's the bottom line. I don't want no baggage, meaning I'm not getting into anything with somebody who hasn't fully resolved their situation that came before me. I've done that before, not anymore. I mean, if you need to get a divorce, if you separated, we can't deal with each other until you're fully all the way divorced. I don't care how long you've been. I don't care if you've been separated for 20 years. Until you have a piece of paper saying you are divorced, there will be no you and I. You have to be financially responsible. I cannot stress this enough. I'm sorry, I put a TH. But because I mean that. Like, your finances, the man, your finances got to be in order. You do not have to be a rich man. You have to be a financially stable and responsible man. Because just because you're rich or wealthy does not mean you are responsible with your finances. You have to be able to provide stability in my life. I don't need no up and down roller coasters, not knowing what's going to happen next. I need stability. I need someone who is going to love my children as if they are their own. What else? Has to be funny, a sense of humor. I am goofy. So if you ain't with the goof, you can't be with me. If you want somebody that's going to be cute and pretty, that ain't going to be doing a little off the wall stuff and pranking and, you know, wanting to joke and laugh, then, you know, you ain't the one for me. Have to have good sex. It's very important to me. Looks aren't that important to me. They've never been. Actually, I'm not really into, I'm not really into men who are very, very into themselves. I don't like that. I don't like men who are prettier than I am. And I like a manly man. I like a man who can fix things. I like a man who's not afraid to get his hands dirty. I like a man, if something breaks in the house, you know, he can get down the door. He know how to paint. He gonna go outside. He gonna cut the grass. He gonna take the trash out. You know, like I likes me a manly man. And I like a man that like to pay bills. Period. I don't want no man that think I'm coming in to be no roommate. All right? No. That's all I can think of off the top of my head because my list is long. But as you can see, it's not a whole lot of physical stuff. Like, I ain't like, he got to be 6 feet. He got to have this, you know, physically, he got to do. No, my stuff is more, you know, responsibility wise. And, you know, based on his character more than his physical attributes.
So I heard you say your list was long, right? And I don't feel like it's long, but I feel like you're being thorough with your list. So um during today, as part of today's sermon, Bishop was saying, you ask God for things and then you get them. And one of the things that he used as an example is you ask God for that husband, that wife, and you got them, and now you in a situation, but it's because you weren't specific. You have to be very specific about what you're asking for. You can't just ask for stuff. You got to ask for, what it is that you need and what you want, in particular. So Letitia, like, first of all, if there's anything that you want to add or take away from Stephanie's list, but also how do you think that list changes as we get older?
That's a good question. Here's the thing, we evolve as people. What we dealt with in our 20s, we're not going to deal with in our 30s. And for all of us, we're going into our 40s. So that chapter looks different for us. Sister, my bad. But I will use the real life example. When I got married at 22, my needs at 22 were not the same as my needs at 36 going on 37.
Ooh.
At 22, I could deal with somebody who was working on themselves. I could deal with somebody who had potential. Because in your 20s, that's really all you have is potential to be, because you're not grown, you're an adult in your 20s. You don't hit that grown until you coast into your 30s. And it's usually mid-30s when you all the way grown and you really know who you are as a person. In your 20s, if you're a couple with somebody, if you're married, you're growing with that person, right? So my ex-husband, great guy, not great for me. So there's so many people that will bash, because 14 years in, that's still like my best friend, but I understand there are things about his personality that don't work for me as a nearly 40-year-old woman. I like a man who is a manly man as well, but I also like a man that is very emotionally intelligent. He has to be very aware of himself, his trauma, his triggers, the things that make him tick. He has to be aware of those things. Because like Stephanie said, with that baggage aspect, baggage comes in all kinds of forms. And earlier on my website, I posted, don't let your trauma cheat you out of your blessing. And that happens for so many people because they're carrying this baggage. And then for men, because they're taught not to be vulnerable. When they get in situations with women, they're unable to put it down, to let their guard down, to be vulnerable, to tell you what's hurting them, because they're supposed to be men. So as a 36-year-old, you have to identify those things for me. You have to be able to explain to me what you need, because I'm going to tell you what it is I need.
Yes.
I need you to be emotionally equipped. I need you to support me beyond holding my purse while I'm getting this bag. I need an ambitious man, because without ambition, you're going to get lost in all of my stuff. And I don't have time to look back and temperature check to see where you are. I'm gone. So evolving from 22 to 36, that's another thing that I'm not going to do. See, when I was younger, I temperature checked for my husband. I didn't want to outgrow him. I didn't want to outpace him. Buddy, either you can keep up or you cannot. I am not in the mode of stroking your ego or nursing you or help cultivate things that need to be cultivated going into your 40s, probably 40 because I like being older. So I'm not going to cultivate you as a grown man. Truth be told, you are who you are. So I'm probably not going to be able to cultivate it. That's wasted energy. I don't have it to waste. I'm a mother of 5.
Boom.
Listen, all those are facts. Check. Those are all facts. All.
Big facts.
So I, who we are, and with the experiences we've had in our life, married or unmarried, married and separated, divorced, whatever our individual histories are, I think we have a clear understanding of the fact that we are different people. Like, I've known you
Yes.
both quite a long time. You are different. I've seen, and hopefully you've seen the same in me, growth. Like, you're a different version of yourself, a more confident version, a more thank God, more peaceful version. I think we've all,
Absolutely.
because back then,
Absolutely.
woo, wow, you don't want it. So I thank God for growth in us. The thing is, when you're trying to be one, because the Bible says husband and wife.
Absolutely.
So when you're trying to be one and you're trying to grow together, because whether you got together in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, growth it's a lifelong journey. You're going to continue to grow and change. And so how do you, assuming that the person you are married to, you're equally yoked, so it's not that they can't keep up, how do you make sure that you do make time to grow together, that you do not so much handhold, but like keep pace?
I think dating is the bigger part, because when we date, we get to know somebody to see if we want to be like mates, right? But after you become mates, you still have to date, because as you said, we evolve with age. So your likes are going to change, your ambitions are going to change. The things that make you tick are going to change. My temperament has changed tremendously from 20 to 30. I'm a very calm woman now. Had we done this at 26, I would have punched somebody in the face for breathing on me wrong. I had a horrible temper, which I still do. It just takes so long for me to escalate now.
Unless your name is
Right.
Karen. Like, if your name is Karen, the escalation is very quick.
We're not going to talk about that, people. I had a moment. We're going to talk about that later on in the season. But I think dating is important for both parties, because it helps you get to know. Because in everyday life, we get lost in each other. And God, if there's kids in the mix, we just meeting up to be like, yo, we outnumbered. Let's go to bed. So you have to continue to date so that you truly know your mate. That's why friendship is so important in getting in relationships. Like, I can say my ex-husband was my best friend. Truth be told, he still is. And so many people are turned off by that, but we'll talk about that part later, since we're talking about marriage, because we can't talk about marriage without talking about the beginning and, unfortunately, the end.
Right. So I definitely want to circle back to this friendship aspect, right? Because I think that's a huge thing that people are missing as they go through this. But before we get into the friendship aspect, right, Stephanie, you said something earlier as a part of the list about, you like a man who's like a manly man, like a traditional type of man. They fix stuff around the house, take the trash out, cut the lawn, all those things that, I know that we were taught men are supposed to do in the household. So what do you think is the biggest obstacle to that? Like, what's the problem with men doing those things now? Or do you feel like marriage can work if they're not that manly?
For some people, yes. Me personally, no. I have never been married before. Prayerfully one day I will be, but my views don't change. There are some women out here that can deal with having men that don't take the lead, and that have them doing all of this stuff. Me, I ain't doing it. And that's just that, and it may be because of the example, that I had set forth for my parents, my mother, my stepfather. If he can't do it, he got the money to pay somebody to do it. One thing for sure, my mother ain't doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't gonna catch my mother, doing certain things. And yes, he's still gonna he get up and he go out there, he cut the grass, he tend to, things like that, as what I feel like a man should do. But like I said, that's the example that I have. What I will say is why I think it's so different now. It's because a lot of men nowadays have been raised by single moms, and they have seen their mom do everything. And because they saw their mother doing that, they think that that's how it's supposed to be, not realizing that that's not the way it's supposed to be. She did it because she had to.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of single moms, unfortunately, when they have sons, they are not teaching them to be men.
Mm-hmm.
They're putting them up under their titty and babying them. So they come out into this world, they get with women or woman, whatever, if they monogamous or they not, and they want this woman to baby them like their mother did. And that's the big thing. And I've so many times I've heard it over and over again. Well, my mother did it. She wasn't supposed to, though. Did you like seeing your mother change tires? Did you like seeing your mother pump the gas? Did you like seeing your mother push a heavy ass lawnmower up and down the lawn, cutting grass? Did you like your mother fixing the kitchen sink? Did you like to see your mother plunge in the toilet?
Oh.
No. Did you like seeing your mother work 6 and 7 jobs? Never seeing her because, it wasn't a man around to carry that load? No. So why, just because, you saw your mother doing it, why would you go out here in the world and the woman that you call yourself loving, the mother of your children, your wife, whoever, why you want her to do it? Just because you saw somebody else doing it does not mean that's the way it was supposed to be, supposed to be done. And that's just, my take on it. Shy would never. Because I'm with him, Shy would never. Okay? When Shy becomes a man and he has a wife or girlfriend or whatever, first of all, I'm going to tell him off the rip, you don't move in with no woman if you can't pay all the bills. If you cannot pay all the bills, you don't. First of all, if you get to the point where you got to move with a woman, you got to go half, that's the only way you can pay your bills, you don't even need to be moving out yet. You ain't ready. And don't have no woman coming in there and you talking about she got to pay half. No, she don't. You're a man. You supposed to be paying the bills. Your daddy pay these bills in this house, and that's what you going to do. I better not ever come over my son's house and see his wife or the mother, his children, his girlfriend, whoever, taking out a bag of trash. I'll be his ass.
So, these episodes live on, and so he would definitely know this. Even if you didn't tell him, we can play this back, and he would definitely know that's not your life. But you made a good point that it's based on example, because I'm just thinking back, we're talking about this in relationship to marriage, right? Your mate, the person that you're living your life with. But I'm thinking back on relationships, some unwanted relationships, let me just keep it a buck, before I got married, right? But these were people that were in my life. These were friends, they would come over, and I never had to say to them, like, if they came in my house and I had trash in my can, they automatically took it out. There was no conversation. And it's not that they had to, there were no expectations, there were no requirements. That wasn't just space in my life, right? This is not my spouse, this is not my mate, but just the men that they were. You just wouldn't come into a woman's space and not, you understand what I'm saying? So I
Absolutely.
feel that it's who you are internally, the man or the woman, because there are certain things that a woman will do for her man, her husband in this case, that you're just raised to do. So I really do want to come back to this friendship thing, right? Because as you share, Letitia, you have an ex-husband, right? I have an ex-husband. And so in this dating situation, y'all pray for us. So
please do.
hard a lot on your knees. So in this situation, we're encountering, going back out there and dating and meeting people. And so I feel like a lot of people don't understand the perspective that I have of you do have to date intentionally. Like, you do have to look at a person as I want to date you. But at the same time, I'm not trying to force a relationship. I'm trying to see, are we capable of being good friends? I want to know friends. Because if we can't be friends, we can't be anything else. It's not going to work, because long term, you get to, when you talk about marrying someone, you're talking about the rest of your life. That's what you're about. So if you're talking about the rest of your life, at some point we should be 80 and 90 and 100, God willing. And we're not going to have that physical intimacy probably. We're not going to have, we might not even have our whole mind together. I pray that we do. So if we're not friends and we can't legitimately enjoy each other's company just because, it's not going to be a good situation for us. So
not even long term. Look at the fact that we've been quarantined.
Oh my God.
And think about everybody who is not friends, they're not friends, and now they're stuck in a house together, and you don't even like that person.
Don't even like them. Wow.
Sucks.
But why were y'all in the house together to begin with? You don't even like them.
Something else holding them there. Something superficial.
Something superficial, like
you said.
Like what are we using to tie ourselves together instead of the real bounds of marriage?
A lot of times it's sex.
And finances. Because then you get in these situations, like Stephanie said, you get into these situations you can't afford. Now you stuck with this person because you can't afford to live by yourself.
That's tragic.
It's tragic.
Like that is,
and it happens way too often. It happens way too often. I've never lived with a man that wasn't my father or my husband. I have no intention of doing so because first of all, I don't like anybody enough. Let me keep it 100. I don't like anybody enough. If I like you that much, put a ring on it. Like there's no in between for me. There's no in between for me because as progressive as I am, I'm very traditional as well.
So I've had one experience where I lived with somebody, but it wasn't like we moved in together. I was in college. We were roommates. I had more than one roommate. It just so happened that one of them I was involved with. So it wasn't like, you understand?
Right.
And even when we did that, even when we had that situation, I had a whole nother house. I don't have to live here. So other than my husband, that's true. But y'all know me. I'm really particular about my space. I love my children endlessly, but I really want to live by myself. I don't like anybody in my space at all. It's really a labor of love for me to cohabitate with somebody. It really is. I don't like it.
I'm with you because I don't like my broke roommates.
Your kids. Your broke
my broke roommates, kids. However you want to say this.
So I know, Stephanie, you've had some situations where you've been in a place to cohabitate, right? So what do you feel like are the things that you find out when you live with a man that you really need to find out before you marry him?
Straight up. Because of just speaking for me, I gotta know that you got it. I've had all types of situations, okay? I've been in a situation where I have taken care of a man, okay? I've had a situation where all the bills were in my name. If something happened, it all fell down on me. I've had situations where the things were in my name and we were supposed to be going half. Again, if things break off, it's all back on me. I've had a situation where this person, okay, yeah, I'm the man. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to pay these bills. That's all me. Couldn't handle it. And basically he folded and we wound up. Part of the reason why I feel like we parted was because he wanted to go elsewhere with somebody who was going to baby him. And now my situation now where I love it here. I ain't got to worry about a bill in the care in the world. And that all boils down to finances. Not only, I don't have to worry about the bills, but I don't have to worry about the bills. I know he's going to pay them. I know when I come in the house, the light is going to come on when I flip the switch. I know there's going to be hot water. I know there's going to be cable. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know it's not going to be a foreclosure sign. I know that. You know what I'm saying? I know he can do the damn thing. That's a big issue. Once you start living with somebody, you really see if they got it or if they don't. All that faking and flogging they was doing before y'all moved in the same house, they can't hide it once you in the same space. And truth be told, you already know a relationship can crumble over finances. Forget a relationship, marriages. And I haven't even been married, but just seeing people who are and who have been and who have departed from their marriages, a lot of the breakdown is over finances.
Well, they say that the 3 top reasons for divorce are finances, children, disagreement about how to raise children, and of course fidelity.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's it.
And a lot of that
finance is number 1, right?
Yeah, and
finance is number 1.
Comes from finances. A lot
Absolutely.
of it stems from finances. Somebody ain't got it. They going out here to try to get it from somebody else. Somebody ain't got it. They going out here trying to find relief somewhere else.
Those
Money ain't everything, but it does make the world go round. So
and it makes you comfortable.
Boom, give you options.
Because one thing that you said, we're talking about finances, right? Mm-hmm. That's what it's about. That security. Mm-hmm. But it made me start to think about here comes science girl, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Mm-hmm. So if your basic needs aren't being met, food, shelter, water, you can't get to these other stages and planes of life, where you're forming relationships, where you're getting to ultimately, if you're using that model, self-actualization. Like, I can't get into who I am and growing and maturing because I constantly have to worry about my basic needs.
Yep.
So it's not just finances. It translates to, am I safe with you? Do I have security in my space? Do I have peace? And just being out of that instinct, out of that fight or flight, and going from, I know some people say going from surviving to thriving. Like, we can't really get into the meat of this relationship because we're in survival mode.
All the time.
Right.
Constantly putting out fires.
Mm-hmm. Right. And how do you endure? The question becomes, how long can you endure? That's really what it like. If you are in a struggle situation, if you're constantly in survival mode, at some point you lose the fight, whether somebody bails or somebody gives up. You know what I mean? So in essence, it's a ticking time bomb at that point. You just waiting for the time to expire before it all blows up.
Yep.
I speak from experience. I was deeply in love with my ex-husband, but it wasn't until after I left my marriage that I realized I spent years in survival mode. So when you're in survival mode, and then the love languages are different and the love upbringing is different, because some people are raised in not survival, but what do they call that? It's a whole struggle love situation. So when you're raised and you're constantly trying to figure out how to survive, and then you're over here and you're raised in love and comfort, when you come together with those people that were raised in struggle versus raised in love, they're very different people anyway. The outlook can't be the same because of experience. So you add that to a survival situation and you doomed. Yep. Which goes back to that baggage conversation, because that is baggage.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
When you're dealing with a man or a woman who was raised in a house with addicts, who was raised in abusive situations, who was raised not knowing where the next meal was coming from, who wasn't raised in comfort, and then you have a man or a woman over here that was raised in comfort, raised in love, raised with privilege. They're two different experiences, and a lot of times they breed resentment because you don't understand where I'm coming from, and you don't get what I'm saying, and you don't understand why I'm not privileged. I was just comfortable. You don't understand I'm not a terrible person. I just did what I needed to survive. Like, then it goes into that whole unequally yoked thing.
Yep.
Because those things create unequally yoked. Like, you don't have the same experience, so you don't have the same outlook. And then with any relationship, your purpose has to align.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Absolutely.
So we all have some baggage. The question is, are you packing, a little fanny pack, or are you packing a full set of Louis Vuitton? Like what are you really dragging around with you? So when you full set, right? So when you get into the baggage, right, and unpacking the baggage, because at some point in life we all need to unpack our baggage, whether we are yoked, whether we're a couple or not. We need to unpack our baggage. But when you are a couple, when you're in a marriage or you're in a committed relationship, some of that unpacking, personally, I feel, is best done together. So which things do we need to unpack by ourselves, and which thing can be a team effort of, pulling this off the shelf?
I really think it should be both ways for everything. I feel like it's a time and place for everything, and your issues you gotta unpack alone first,
right?
Because of it is you gotta really acknowledge that they there. Like I said, before, you can't deal with stuff until you really acknowledge that it's there. That's why therapy is important. Big time.
Yeah.
Especially if you call yourself going to be in a relationship, especially if you're going to be in a marriage. Like, therapy is essential. So I really feel like it's both. When it comes to, your childhood traumas, you got to go see somebody. You got to go talk to somebody. You got to let that thing go. But then you also got to come back to your partner, and you got to explain to them, they have to know these things, because even if, let's say you do go see a therapist about something, you know what I'm saying? The stuff don't heal overnight. So if we got triggers and things like that, anything can happen. And, it brings it to the forefront, and you upset, you lashing out, and your partner don't have a clue what's going on with you. Yeah, you unpacking it alone, but you got to unpack it with them too, so they can know what's going on and so they can know how to deal with you. So I feel like it should be, a double dose. You got to do things alone, and then you got to come together and you got to tackle it together. That's just my opinion.
That makes sense. It's almost like if you don't do it together, then maybe it's a minefield, and where all the mines are, but they don't.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow. So I'm not gonna, we are in that weird space where we're not old, okay?
No.
But we're not exactly young. Like,
yeah, we're matured.
We're mature. I like it.
We're like, we're matured.
We are mature.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that one era has the lock on everything. Like everything wasn't all good in the past and everything is not all bad right now. So if you had to pick 3 things to merge from the old school per se and the new school, what's your 6? What are your 3 old, 3 new, Letitia?
Cool. My 3 olds. I was an optimist in my 20s. I leaned on the side of realism, but I was an optimist. I could find a silver lining, and I'm struggling with that now. Now I'm just like, let me give you the real. So that's 1. 2, I think my level of patience. My level of patience and my willingness to invest. And then that 3rd thing is age.
Like
The third thing,
more.
the third thing is age. But I guess it's like it's a double-edged sword for me, because I liked my 20s, but I love who I am in my 30s. So the maturity like really has helped, because with my maturity, it just, there's so many things to unpack in that one bubble. So from the new, I will say that I love how confident I am. I know who I am and I'm comfortable with it. I love that I don't care about other people's opinions at all. Like in my 20s, I cared maybe what my parents thought, or I cared what my grandparents. I don't care what y'all think. This is how this show is going. I love you, but I don't care. And the 3rd thing, what's the 3rd thing? The 3rd thing is peace. I love the peace that I'm feeling in my life right now, because no matter if all hell breaks loose or not, when I have alone time, when I'm alone with my thoughts, I'm not jumping out of my skin because I'm scared of what's going on in my head.
That's priceless right there. That peace thing, that being comfortable in your skin. I think we spend so much of our 20s trying to figure ourselves out. And then, especially with your situation, you trying to figure yourself out and trying to be part of a team in this marriage. And it's hard enough just figuring us out, right? Like just growing that growth cycle. So in the vein of still, the topic of marriage and this modern thing, what's one thing that you think now we do better in marriage as a society? Like if you want to say millennials, whatever, what are they doing better in marriages as married people than maybe our parents or grandparents did?
They're playing by their own rules. They are not allowing society to dictate what that looks like for them. And I think for us who are like 35 and better, those 1977 to 83 babies, we're like hybrids of old school and new school. And for me, I know the old school one. I'm very traditional in my thoughts, like Stephanie is. And I think I gave into the pressure of what it was supposed to look like, instead of making sure that it looked like what it needed to look like for me. So now, as I look at them, they just playing by their own rules, and I love it, because it's a brave thing. Screw what y'all think we don't miss. I love it.
So what about you, Stephanie? What's one thing that modern marriages are doing now, or modern married people are doing now that they wasn't doing before?
I will say, What I really like is the option for women to have their own money. Because
Me too.
in the past, a man wanted you, your husband, he wanted you to be home, and he wanted you to be home with your children, and that was your job. That was your job. You had to depend on him for everything. Now, you can go out and have a job and what have you. Like, or you can kind of mix it up. Like, I'm not married, but my situation is, it's kind of, I get to stay home, but I have businesses that I work from home. So I'm home with my children. I get to see them grow. I take care of them. Nobody else takes care of them. Nobody else is responsible for them but me. But I still have my own money. I can do what I want. I can buy what I want. I can go where I want. But I still have that security of him, playing his part as a man in the household and making sure that things are taken care of financially in the household. But I still reach back, with those, old traditions where I cook, I clean. He's not responsible for any cooking or laundry or, things like that. But back to what I was saying, like I really like the fact that now men are comfortable with women having their own. And I will say in some situations, men are a little too, they ain't comfortable. They want a woman to have their own so they can have what they got. That's a whole nother story. That ain't what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is, the men out here who, still do their part and still know their role, but they're not intimidated by their woman knowing themselves and having their own financial stability.
So it's so funny, like, as I'm listening to you talk about that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking to myself, well, first of all, let me say this. I like that part of what you said, that women can have their own, because what's crazy, and we don't really think about it all the time, not that long ago, like literally people we know couldn't, like literally couldn't. Me personally, I know when I got married, by the time I got married, I had my own everything. I had my own career. I had bought a house. I bought a car. Like, I was taking care. I have my own. So I had the comfort of knowing that, yes, this is mine, right? Not having to rely on, like you said, where the husband, everything was his. And you just had to, make do with whatever he gave you. If he gave you, pray that you weren't in a, like a, abusive type of situation. But, as a man, of course, you're expected to also have your, like, it's not that I don't, which creates, I think, the best situation where I don't need you to complete me. You don't need me to complete you, but there's some reason that we tethered together, right?
Yep.
So if I had to, I have to. And I have no fear of leaving the situation because I can, which is crazy to think that not that long ago, and not just financially. Like, I remember my grandmother telling me, my mother's mother, she has 5 children. And with that last child, they were talking about doing a hysterectomy. And the doctor literally went to ask my grandfather for permission. Like, she did not have the right to make the choice about her body. My grandmother is alive. Okay, so that's what I mean by it wasn't just money. Like, women did not have control of
Anything.
Like, this was her choice about it really kind of touched on everything, because this is her body, and she's saying, I don't want to have any more children. So you're and if she's forced to have more children, not forced, but you understand what I'm saying, if she's not control her fertility or control even the things that she's going through physically with her body, then, more children breed more financial response. They breed less freedom, because when you have young children, you have a responsibility to raise. So it's so crazy to me to think not that long ago, like I said, my grandmother's not that old.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is if this was her last child, so we're talking about my mother. My mother's the baby. Like literally my mother, her age. And who knows how long after that. Like I don't know exactly what year that changed.
Right.
I know that a lot of that had to do with the work that Justice Bader Ginsburg did for women. And of course, we all know that she was here in our lifetime. She literally just passed.
Mm-hmm.
So I really, really think that the ability to have more control of yourself, or even the intention to be in control of yourself, just practicing self-control and self-care and self-help and self-wellness, prepares you to be a part of us, our wellness, our stability, our, everything that goes along with partnering with somebody.
That's
So
really good. That's really good, Anika. Oh yeah.
listen, we are so blessed, and don't even like sometimes we just really need to think back of how blessed we really are in 2020. Like I know 2020, my baby calls it the year of chaos, but I know 2020 was a doozy. But I mean, just listen, there are so many things that we take for granted because
Absolutely.
they've just always been there. And for us, they've always been there as an adult person. But yeah, even right now, there are women who don't have those freedoms.
Yep.
Think about how crazy that is. So, ladies, I think that for all of us, I think we have like a healthy mix. We're at our core traditionalists as far as how we expect marriage or relationships to go, but we're not throwing all the new school away. Like, not throwing it all away.
Not at all.
Some good stuff. So, any parting advice for ladies who are in the process of finding a mate or being found by their mate, depending on how you want to look at that? I want no trouble. Or who are already in a relationship? Like, what would you say to them as far as maintaining that?
Okay. So, like I said, I've never been married, but I am in a place, I'm in a relationship, and marriage has been a topic, so he knows that that's expected and all that good stuff. But there are times when I run into people or, whatever, have a conversation with people, and the first thing they ask me is, so when y'all get married?
None of your business.
And I always say to them, I don't know. You can't ask me that. I don't do the asking. I don't ask for someone's hand in marriage. He has to ask me. So, with that being said, no, let me back it up. It's been times where I felt that pressure from other people, and that in turn made me put a little pressure on him, not even realizing, like, Stephanie, why are you putting all this pressure when you already then told this man what you want? You already then told him how you want it, what you expect, the caliber of this thing that you're asking for. Like I want the everything. I want the extravagant proposal. I want the huge ring. I want the over the top wedding. That's not going to happen overnight. I got to give the man time. So I would say, if you want marriage and you in a relationship, I would say, you know how people be like, well, a man, he knows when he wants to marry you. It don't take him forever to know if he want to marry you or not. That's true. That's true. That's really, really, really true. But what you got to do is you got to be able to differentiate from the conversation. You can tell a lot about a person or what their intentions are just from a conversation. You know, you can tell whether a person wants to be, you know, what place they want to be in just from a conversation. So my advice is have that conversation. Be clear on your intent. Be clear on your expectation. And if you know that you have a big expectation, give that person a chance to deliver. We be wanting a whole lot. And we want it in this little tiny bit of time. I really have had to say to myself, Stephanie, chill. Chill on this man. He's a man. He's shown himself to be everything that he's told you. Everything that you've asked him for, everything that you required of him, he has done. What makes you think he's not going to do this? You got to give him time to do it. Look at what you're asking for. So that all ties into knowing the person that you're with too. You know what I'm saying? Don't take long for you to realize who you with, what they're capable of, and if they are for you. You know what I'm saying? If they're willing to do what it takes to keep you. It don't take long. It don't take long at all to, you know, figure that out. You know, that's my spiel. I can't give you no marriage advice because I never been married, so, and I don't believe in giving advice on stuff that I ain't never touched. So I can't give you that. But for the women who want to be married, who are in, you know, relationships they want to be, just, you know, take that.
That's good though. That's real good. Wait, that's real good. Yeah. All right, sister, what you got for us? You gotta give them something.
Oh man. For my single ladies, I will say that life is definitely a long race. Pace yourself, take your time. There is a lot of life to live. For some of us, life is short, but then others is very long. So take your time. For my married people, I will say, and this is for single people as well, self-preservation is important. Take care of yourself. You cannot be a wife or a mother without being you. You have to have that time. Don't let anybody make you feel guilty for that time because it is called preservation and that is for everyone, not just yourself. And then the other thing is just don't take life so seriously all the time. There are going to be things that blow up and surely you can put them back together. It just takes time. So in all of this, just take your time.
That's good. We are in a tendency as a society, we're just used to everything being right there, instant. And so I heard that from both of you. We're just used to it. And so time.
Take time.
So ladies, this was good. Thank you again, as always, for your time. Thank you to any listeners or viewers for your time. Sagittarius season is in full swing. Like,
absolutely.
Listen, be getting it. Okay. So again, stick with us, like, share, follow. We will be here every week during Sagittarius season. And to be honest, Sagittarius season will not end. It is continuous. So we will be partying. We will be taking this all through the year, all into 2021 until we hit the real turn up, Sag season number 2. So thank you again, ladies, listeners, and we'll see you next week. All right.
Bye.
Good night.